Dean Martin told Alain, "You couldn't last a scene with me." Alain's three-word response. This is the incredible true story of how one moment of cultural arrogance on a Hollywood film set became one of the most legendary demonstrations of French sophistication and professional grace ever recorded in cinema history, proving that sometimes the most powerful responses to ignorance and prejudice are delivered not with anger or lengthy explanations, but with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from genuine talent, authentic class, and the understanding that true artistry speaks louder than reputation, louder than fame, and louder than the casual dismissal of those who mistake cultural sophistication for weakness and assume that European refinement cannot compete with American swagger. August 22, 1963. Paramount Studios in Hollywood was bustling with controlled chaos that characterized major international film production during cinema's golden age, when American studios were beginning to recognize the commercial value of co-productions that could appeal to both domestic and European audiences. The film being shot was The Riviera Connection, an ambitious crime thriller designed to capitalize on French New Wave cinema popularity and American entertainment, combining sophisticated visual style, making European films increasingly influential, with star power and production values Hollywood could provide. Leading the American cast was Dean Martin, the legendary entertainer whose career had encompassed everything from comedy partnerships with Jerry Lewis to his role as core member of Frank Sinatra's famous Rat Pack, making him one of the most recognizable and influential figures in American entertainment. Dean's persona was built around carefully cultivated, effortless cool, casual confidence, and masculine charm that seemed quintessentially American, relaxed, unpretentious, and slightly irreverent in a way that appealed to audiences who appreciated entertainment that didn't take itself too seriously while still delivering professional competence. But beneath Dean's laid-back exterior was a performer who took his craft seriously and had developed strong opinions about what constituted legitimate acting talent, particularly regarding emerging international actors gaining prominence in Hollywood productions without having paid their dues in the American entertainment system. Representing the European element was Alain Delon, whose breakthrough performances in French cinema had established him as one of the most promising young actors of his generation and had attracted Hollywood producers who recognized his potential to become an international star capable of appealing to global audiences. At 27, Alain was at a crucial career point where his European success was beginning to translate into international recognition opportunities, but where he still faced the challenge of proving that his talents could transcend cultural boundaries and succeed in the American market. The casting of both actors in The Riviera Connection was intended to combine Dean's established American appeal with Alain's rising European profile, creating a film that would offer audiences the best of both entertainment traditions while telling a story that justified the international scope of its production. But the cultural dynamics that made this casting commercially appealing also created potential for friction on set, where different approaches to performance and contrasting attitudes about professional excellence could lead to confrontations that either destroyed working relationships or created legendary moments. The tension between the two leading men had been building gradually throughout the first 2 weeks of production, not through specific incidents or professional disagreements, but through subtle cultural friction that often developed when performers from different entertainment traditions were required to work closely together under major studio production pressure. Dean's approach was rooted in American entertainment tradition that valued natural charisma, effortless delivery, and professional competence that made difficult work look easy, combined with a casual attitude that suggested serious preparation while maintaining relaxed confidence. Alain's background in French cinema had given him a different perspective that emphasized psychological depth, technical precision, and careful preparation that reflected the European tradition of treating performance as serious artistic endeavor, requiring both natural talent and extensive training. These different approaches created a dynamic where each actor represented distinct cultural attitudes toward entertainment, with Dean embodying American preference for natural charisma and effortless appeal, while Alain represented European emphasis on artistic sophistication and technical excellence. The confrontation that would create one of Hollywood's most legendary exchanges began during a break in filming on August 22nd, when the cast and crew had gathered in the studio commissary for lunch and informal conversation about the production's progress and challenges of creating a film that would successfully blend American and European sensibilities. Dean, who was holding court at a table surrounded by crew members and studio executives, had been sharing stories about the entertainment industry and his opinions about the current state of American cinema, when the conversation turned to the increasing influence of foreign actors in Hollywood productions. The discussion began as general commentary on the changing film industry, but gradually evolved into more specific critique of what Dean saw as a trend toward casting international actors based on European reputations rather than proven ability to succeed in American productions that required different skills. As the conversation continued, Dean's comments became increasingly pointed and dismissive of European acting traditions, suggesting that sophisticated techniques celebrated in French and Italian cinema were not necessarily suited to the kind of entertainment that American audiences expected. It was during this conversation, as Dean was explaining his views on the differences between American and European performance approaches, that Alain entered the commissary and approached the table where Dean was speaking, unaware that he was about to become the target of a public challenge that would test not only his professional composure, but also his ability to represent European cinema with dignity under pressure. Dean, perhaps emboldened by his audience and confident in his position as the established American star, decided to make his point about European actors in the most direct way possible by addressing Alain directly and challenging him to defend his qualifications for appearing in an American production. "Well, here comes our French pretty boy. You know, Alain, I've been watching your work, and I have to tell you something. You European actors might look good in those artsy French films, but this is Hollywood, and this is real acting. You couldn't last a scene with me." The comment was delivered with the kind of casual confidence that Dean had perfected over years of entertainment success, but the intent was unmistakably aggressive, a public challenge designed to establish dominance while dismissing Alain's credentials and reducing his European background to a liability.
The commissary fell silent as everyone present realized they were witnessing a confrontation between the film's two leading men, with the American entertainment legend publicly challenging the rising European star in a way that demanded some kind of response but offered no easy way for Alain to defend himself without appearing defensive or equally aggressive. For Alain, the moment represented everything that was challenging about breaking into the American market: the casual dismissal of European artistic traditions, the assumption that American entertainment was inherently superior to international cinema, and the kind of cultural arrogance that treated foreign actors as novelties rather than legitimate professionals. But rather than responding with anger, defensiveness, or the kind of lengthy explanation that would have seemed weak in the context of Dean's challenge, Alain chose a response that demonstrated exactly the kind of sophisticated confidence that had made him successful in European cinema and that would ultimately prove Dean's assumptions completely wrong. Looking directly at Dean with the kind of calm composure that suggested complete confidence in his own abilities, Alain delivered a response that was both perfectly respectful and devastatingly effective in its simplicity and precision. "Watch me work." Those 3 words, spoken quietly but clearly enough for everyone in the commissary to hear, managed to accomplish everything that a longer response could have achieved while demonstrating exactly the kind of professional confidence that Dean had claimed European actors lacked. The response was perfect because it avoided engaging with Dean's cultural prejudices while accepting his challenge in the most professional way possible, suggesting that Alain was so confident in his abilities that he was willing to let his work speak for itself rather than defending his credentials with words. But what made the moment truly legendary was not just Alain's response, but what happened over the following weeks of production as he proceeded to demonstrate that his European training and artistic approach to performance could not only compete with American entertainment traditions, but could actually elevate the material in ways that impressed everyone involved with the production. The scenes that Alain filmed following the commissary confrontation showcased exactly the kind of technical excellence and emotional depth that had made him successful in French cinema, but adapted to American production requirements in ways that proved his versatility and professional competence while maintaining the sophisticated approach that distinguished his work. His performance in key dramatic scenes demonstrated that European acting techniques could enhance rather than conflict with American storytelling, bringing psychological complexity and visual elegance to material that benefited from exactly the kind of artistic sophistication that Dean had dismissed as irrelevant to Hollywood's success. The contrast between Alain's careful preparation and nuanced performance and Dean's more casual approach became increasingly obvious to cast and crew members who were able to observe both actors' working methods and compare their contributions to the film's overall quality. Within a week of the commissary incident, the production atmosphere had shifted significantly, with crew members, directors, and studio executives recognizing that Alain's European background was not a limitation, but an asset that brought valuable skills and perspectives to the American production. The film's daily rushes revealed that Alain's scenes were consistently among the most compelling and professionally executed, with his performance providing the kind of dramatic anchor that elevated the entire production while proving that European acting techniques could enhance rather than detract from commercial entertainment. By the time The Riviera Connection was completed, Alain's work had not only vindicated his response to Dean's challenge, but had established him as exactly the kind of international talent that Hollywood needed to compete in an increasingly global entertainment market. The film's eventual success, both critically and commercially, demonstrated that audiences were indeed ready for sophisticated international entertainment that combined American production values with European artistic sensibilities, validating the entire concept of cultural collaboration that Dean had initially dismissed. For Dean personally, the experience became an education in the value of international artistic traditions and the importance of respecting cultural differences, rather than assuming American superiority in all aspects of entertainment. The story of Alain's 3-word response became legendary within Hollywood circles, not just because of its perfect timing and elegant simplicity, but because it represented a moment when cultural sophistication triumphed over prejudice through the demonstration of authentic talent rather than through arguments or confrontation. Most importantly, those 3 words, "Watch me work," became a symbol of the confidence that comes from genuine ability and the kind of professional dignity that allows talent to speak for itself rather than requiring defense through words or explanations.
If this incredible story of cultural grace and professional excellence has inspired you to let your own work speak for itself rather than defending your abilities with words, make sure to subscribe and share this video with someone who needs to understand that true talent transcends cultural boundaries and that the most powerful responses to prejudice often come through demonstration rather than explanation. Tell us in the comments about times when you've witnessed professional excellence overcome cultural bias, because sometimes the most important victories are won not through argument, but through the quiet confidence that allows authentic ability to prove itself in challenging circumstances. The impact of that legendary exchange extended far beyond the Riviera connection, creating ripple effects throughout Hollywood that would influence how the American entertainment industry approached international collaboration and cultural diversity. The story of Alain's three-word response quickly became part of Hollywood folklore, shared in industry gatherings and acting classes as an example of handling professional challenges with grace and dignified composure that ultimately proves more effective than defensive arguments. Film industry professionals began citing the incident as a perfect example of how cultural prejudice could be overcome through professional excellence rather than political arguments, demonstrating that the most effective way to change attitudes was through consistent demonstration of competence. The success of the Riviera Connection, which became one of the highest-grossing international co-productions of 1964, validated the concept of combining American production resources with European artistic sensibilities, proving that audiences were ready for sophisticated entertainment that transcended cultural boundaries. Alain's performance earned critical acclaim from both American and European reviewers, with many noting how his European training had enhanced rather than conflicted with the film's commercial entertainment value, creating the kind of cultural synthesis that the industry needed to compete globally. The recognition established Alain as one of the first European actors to successfully transition to Hollywood without sacrificing the artistic sophistication that had made him successful in French cinema, creating a template for international collaboration that would influence casting decisions throughout the entertainment industry. Within 2 years, multiple Hollywood studios had developed international co-production programs specifically designed to identify European talent that could bring artistic sophistication to American productions while maintaining commercial appeal.
The Alain model demonstrated that European actors could not only succeed in Hollywood, but could enhance American productions by bringing different perspectives and cultural sensibilities that enriched artistic quality while expanding international commercial potential. Dean Martin himself became an advocate for international collaboration, publicly acknowledging that his initial skepticism had been based on cultural assumptions rather than professional assessment, and that working with Alain had taught him to appreciate artistic approaches that differed from American traditions. The three-word phrase, "watch me work," became a rallying cry for professionals facing cultural prejudice based on backgrounds rather than abilities, inspiring countless individuals to respond to discrimination through excellence rather than argument. Film schools throughout America began incorporating the Alain response into curricula as an example of professional grace under pressure, teaching students that the most effective way to overcome prejudice was through demonstration of competence rather than defensive explanations. The incident influenced how Hollywood approached cultural sensitivity in international productions, with studios developing guidelines designed to prevent cultural misunderstandings while fostering collaborative environments that enabled successful international co-productions.
International film festivals began celebrating the incident as an example of how cinema could bridge cultural divides through mutual respect and professional excellence, with Alain's response cited as a perfect example of how artists could maintain cultural identity while succeeding in different entertainment markets. Most significantly, the story demonstrated that the most powerful responses to prejudice often came not through argument, but through quiet confidence that allowed authentic talent to prove itself through professional excellence and cultural grace that transformed skeptics into advocates.